Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Ginger Snap podcast. I'm Stephanie,
I'm Rachel.
and this is part two of episode 8. We are going to be covering friendship breakups. Last week on part 1, we discussed the effect that friendship breakups have on your mental health and the grief that comes along with that. And we asked for some submissions from our viewers, and you guys pulled through big time. And we have some stories to share with you this week.
Okay.
Rachel?
I'll take the reins. So we had a couple that we thought we would share, basically reiterating what we've already said, but a little more, some of them are a little bit more personal. So I think the main thing overall, we've been saying it the whole time, is boundaries. Like, that is key. To any friendship, relationship, whatever, you've got to have clear boundaries.
And
And
we even did an
communication.
episode on boundaries and burnout. So,
Yeah. So knowing your own personal boundaries, I think, is really important. What you're going to tolerate, what you won't tolerate from anyone. That should be a priority for everybody, I think. Some submissions were kind of short and sweet. There were some that were just like, I don't have friends because I just can't trust anybody. They have been burnt out so many times and disappointed by, just basically everyone around them, that they just don't have it within them to try to trust anybody anymore.
and that's sad when it gets to that point when someone's been hurt and betrayed by people that they thought were their friends, people that they thought they could trust, and then, they turned on them.
Well, I think too, just not just like from a friendship aspect, but as someone who has any type of mental illness, which this person in particularly that we're talking about does. And so sometimes it's harder when you have not one, but two, maybe three or more diagnosis, and they can be intimidating to other people who are, neurotypical and don't understand people who are neurodivergent.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's, the whole point in this, again, is the stigma, trying to get rid of that stigma of, just be better human beings and try to understand maybe somebody else's situation.
Mm-hmm. Be a little more empathetic
Yeah,
and open-minded.
because you don't ever know what someone's thinking, what their
Mm-hmm.
thought
Or
process
or
is,
going through.
or where they are. We had another submission again talking about boundaries and keeping those boundaries, and she actually shared a quote. Now, like I was telling you before, I have not fact checked this, but you feel like you have heard this before. I'm not going to name names, but we're just going to say, like, according to this very famous rapper, um, we can wish people well and still hope they eat, just not at our table.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a very strong statement. You don't wish ill of people, but you don't, that's again, creating that boundary and saying, I can love you from a distance, I can wish you well and hope you're doing okay, but you don't have an invitation to my table anymore.
Right. You are not welcome in my inner circle. You're too toxic.
Yep.
I can't trust you.
Mm-hmm. And then she
So
goes on
I'm
to talk about accountability, poor behavior, and not tolerating, you don't have to tolerate things like that, knowing your boundaries again. So that seems to be the trend is boundaries. So you guys really nailed that one. So something else that was brought to us was mother-daughter, the dynamic there between a child's perspective of a parent's perspective, this is something that everybody goes through. It doesn't have to be your parent, it can be your, like your caregiver, your guardian, whoever, when you're growing up, whoever took care of you.
Mhm.
Just not knowing how to communicate. Me especially, I didn't know how to communicate my feelings because honestly, I didn't know what I was feeling. So I didn't know how to talk about it. Or sometimes
Yeah.
you might just not have somebody that wants to listen to you. They just shut you down every time you try to talk, or they tell you to suck it up and just get over it, deal with it, and move on. Um, but so from the teenage perspective, she talks about ghosting and just people leaving or shutting you out for no reason. The transition, everybody's gone through it from middle school to high school. And maybe you've gone through this whole, you know, going through school with the same group of friends. And then all of a sudden you get to high school and they act like they don't know you.
Mhm.
I think a lot of people can relate to that. But her
Yeah.
story in particular involved going to band camp and, she spent the entire summer without her best friends, which was really hard and made her really depressed. But she said that having something to look forward to, going to band camp, is what got her motivated. So she didn't stay in that depression. So that's something really important to remember
Mhm.
is that you have to find something that you like, something to get you motivated, so you don't just stay in that depressive state.
Yeah. Be true to yourself and have something that you enjoy that makes you happy, especially if it's something constructive, like band camp or, whatever it is, something
Art,
you can build
dance,
on.
sports.
And yeah,
Yeah.
anything. It can be anything, as long as it's constructive and it keeps your mind busy and you can feel, productive and fulfilled, it makes all the difference in the world.
Hmm.
Because one of the worst things you can do for depression is to just remain idle.
Yeah. Well, and two, something else that was brought up to us, even like during a live stream, a concerned parent, you know, what do I do when there's no resources in my area? What if poverty is a reason why the child can't participate in a sport or they can't go and have like, you know, dance lessons and things like because those things cost a lot of money,
Mhm.
a whole lot of
Mhm.
money. Um,
I was a dance mom for a couple years and yeah, I had a little help from someone else, but
yeah,
yeah, it was still a lot.
we were baseball, softball. We were at the ball
Mhm.
fields, but yeah, I mean, I would just say that you have to get creative.
Mhm. And a lot
You
of
know,
times there's like scholarships and stuff
hmm
or you can get like a waiver or, do something.
yeah. I know here there's different clubs and organizations that like after school programs. Like we have the Boys and Girls Club here.
Mhm.
They do Big Brother, Big Sister, where
Yep, we have
they
that
have
here.
the mentor here, and in those situations, maybe that person can afford to take them somewhere and do something, or even financially supply them with art supplies or some kind of simple outlet that they're interested in.
Mhm.
Yeah. So another point that I really relate to from the teenager's perspective um, in all of this is trying to communicate with a parent that doesn't hear you. Maybe they do, but just from the perspective of the child, they feel like they're not heard,
Mhm.
and I really relate to that. I'm sure you do too.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Um,
I strongly feel like there's a big difference in someone listening to respond to you
mhm.
because they've already made up their mind about their opinion and about you or the situation or whatever. And then there's listening to understand, listening with an open mind. Like, okay, let me help me understand your perspective better so that I know how to help you because I might be wrong.
Mhm.
So help me understand things from your end.
Yeah.
There's a big difference.
Yeah. And so, in what she was pointing out, things that were brought to her attention were more like, well, what could you have done differently in this situation?
Hmm.
And I get it from the mother's perspective of trying to look at the whole picture as well. Being a parent myself, I know you get it too.
Oh yeah.
We try to look at the whole picture, not just, and it's not
One thing.
like, what did you do wrong in that scenario? To me, when I go to my kids, that's not where that's coming from. So I know, like, that conversation's not ill intended. They mean well, but sometimes your child just needs somebody to just sit there and be silent. They just need you to sit there with them so they can vent. Maybe they don't want a response from you at all. They just want to feel heard.
Right.
So um I just think that for me, that's what made my depression spiral more. And that became more of the problem than actually losing a friend or whatever the scenario was, you know.
Hmm.
Which in her case that was losing her best friends, I guess, in the transition of middle school and high school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's rough at that age
Yeah.
when, you're still figuring out who you are
Yep.
and you rely on your friends a lot, I think, to kind of give you an identity.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you lose that, it's like, okay, well, who even am I now?
Yeah. And she ended it with this, and I love it because it shows, for her age, it really shows her maturity. That basically she was saying that even though you're losing people, it makes room for new people and the opportunity for you to grow. Because
Hmm. Wow.
maybe those other people were holding you back, and the new people that you allow to come into your life, if you choose to let new people come in, because sometimes, I mean, you can grow without having new influences, but just
Hmm.
to have a new positive person come in can change a lot for somebody.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow. That is a very intellectual perspective
Yeah.
for a teenager. I have to applaud that. That is
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. And so she even goes on to say, so I think it's natural for people to grow apart.
Hmm.
Yeah. But don't forget about the person that's going through that loss. Even though change is good, in that moment, it still hurts. So
Yeah.
you've
Change
got
can
to
hurt.
grieve.
Healing can hurt.
You have to grieve that loss in that person, and actually who you were with that
Hmm.
person.
Yep.
Because you don't always take who you were into who you're gonna become. Um,
Hmm.
you lose a part of yourself sometimes. I feel like that's
Absolutely.
the case more when you've had like a more lengthy friendship over
Hmm.
years versus knowing somebody for 6 months and maybe they moved away.
Right.
That's a little bit different. But
Yeah.
somebody
No,
that's
when you've
been with
taken,
you for, years, you still have to
yeah,
grieve that loss.
when you've taken that much time with someone and poured that much energy and have
Yeah.
that many memories together, and maybe you've gone through some trauma together, even, or,
Mhm.
sharing,
Well,
good memories and stuff. It's like, okay, even when you remember the good times, like that
yeah.
person was there. And
It's
then even though you might feel happy remembering all of that, it's still like little part of it still hurts because that
it
person's
does.
not in your life anymore.
It still stings. Like, and I haven't shared like this, but I grew up with I have a bunch of cousins, and we're
Mhm.
nowhere near as close as what we used to be. But we were more like friends than we were cousins. We were all of us were basically the same age. I have four cousins I'm sorry. Well, I'm one of four that were born in the same year.
Mm-hmm.
So we were in the same grade together. We didn't all go to the same school, but and we've
Right.
grown apart, and that hurts. Knowing
Yeah.
how
Oh,
close
for
we were
sure.
then versus how we are now, definitely
Hmm.
stings too. Um,
My first best friend was my cousin who is 1 year older than me, and she and I grew apart like in like the preteen, like early teen, preteen years.
yeah,
So yeah, and it especially hurts when it's a cousin too.
yep. And so going from the teenager side to the parent side, um, the mom is talking about again, what did I do wrong in this situation? You doubt yourself. And so I'm sure that's where it was coming from, trying to get her to reflect on her daughter, to reflect on herself, to see what she could have done differently, because I think internally that's what the mom does. You kind of beat yourself up. What did I do wrong?
Oh yeah. Yep.
What was it? What did I
Mhm.
say? What did I do? Did I forget a birthday? You know, um, those kinds of things. Yeah,
Oh,
that
oh, I just got it. I
yeah,
just got
it
it.
took you a
Okay. I'm just
second.
like, yeah,
Yeah. Oops. If you forgot, or haven't seen it, I actually forgot Stephanie's birthday. Um,
it's okay.
but but yeah, it's all about, you know, boundaries, and you just have to remember sometimes it's just like it's nothing you did. Maybe that person needed to move from you so they could grow, and they knew that. Maybe it was a mutual decision. And we've talked about that before. She mentions that.
Hmm.
I don't know, just learning how to accept people for their differences is something that she thinks people need to do. She feels like that's what breaks up friendships sometimes. Well, you can have different religious, political views or whatever, and you can still be friends with people. Like, we're adults.
Right.
That to me, that's petty.
It is petty and toxic.
Hmm. So, any do you want to elaborate on anything?
Um, I guess like going back to the ghosting too. I remember the first time I was genuinely ghosted by a friend. I think I
Yeah,
was
me
like
too,
23
actually.
or 24, and I genuinely to this day am not sure what happened with this person because I spent so much time back then going over every conversation, every time, we had hung out, like, okay, did something happen? I
Mhm.
read through all of our texts. I mean, the last text we ever sent each other was plans to hang out the next time we both had the same day off. And we had told each other the next week we had, one of our days off was the same. And so they told me, like, oh, well, I'll text you, whenever it was supposed to be. And I was waiting to hear from this person about, like, hey, what do you want to go and do that day? Like, what time do you want to meet up? Whatever. And it just like crickets, just nothing. And we had the same general kind of friend group. And I even tried, asking other people, like, hey, has this person said anything about being upset with me? Like, did I do something? Was there some misunderstanding? Like, in like a conversation with somebody else, like, did you overhear anything that might have sounded, kind of weird? Like, what would have led to this? And this person, like, nobody had any idea. And this person would not talk to anyone about it. It was just we were super super close, and it was just like one day it went from like, yeah, I'll text you, this day, and we'll figure something out, to literally nothing. And as someone with, I was undiagnosed with BPD.
Mhm.
Like, I didn't know what BPD even was at the time. I didn't find out till, a few years later that I had it and started learning about it. So at the time, I had no coping skills for it. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what was even like internally happening to me. I didn't realize I had the fear of abandonment. So I literally just kind of had to wing it, and I really spiraled for a while about it and was super depressed. But I I eventually came to it took a while, but I eventually came to terms with the fact that I didn't do anything, and obviously that person was really struggling with something, because from what I heard from the other people in our inner circle was, after a while, that person kind of went through a complete personality change and was just not the same. And I don't know what happened, but I've concluded that it had nothing to do with me.
Mhm.
So I eventually stopped beating myself up over it. But I did that for a long time because that's naturally how I was, especially back then. It's gotten a lot better. Sometimes I still do it, but I kind of know how to redirect my thoughts now.
I mean, I think
But
that
that was,
I think instinctively that's our first thought is, what did I do?
hmm
What happened? Like,
yep. And I wondered that for a long time. I used to have imaginary conversations with this person in my head where I was just kind of like begging them to just please talk to me. What did I do wrong? Like what happened? Please
mhm,
just talk to me. Like if you want to yell at me, yell at me.
yeah,
Like let me have it if you want. Like if you're that upset with me, I would rather have you screaming and yelling at me about why you're angry and what I did wrong than complete silence.
yeah, because
Because at least that would open up, the communication. But then again, that's, it had nothing to do with me. So,
not having closure is an awful feeling.
because that's an open wound,
Yeah,
literally, that you don't know how to heal that over. And it takes a long time and a lot of work, and you have to do it on your own. It's not like something you can work on with that person because they won't talk to you. So
right.
you're kind of stuck navigating it yourself,
Yeah.
through, with a therapist or whatever.
I think it's really hard or harder for people now just because of social media. Because when you went through that and when I went through what I'm going to share that's along those same lines, we didn't have that then.
No.
And you can still
We
be,
did a little bit, but it wasn't as accessible
yeah. And so
as it is now.
you can still be, and I've had this happen, you can still be friends with somebody on a social media platform and have no interaction with them, someone that's ghosted you, someone that has, just decided they don't want to be friends with you anymore for whatever reason. Um, they can make things private, they can make it public. So you get to see what they want you to see, and they can be passive aggressive or whatever in their communication. So I think, yeah, that it's harder for kids now having social media than us not having it. In some ways more so than others, because like either way, no closure is terrible.
Yeah.
But yeah, so when I was in first grade, I befriended a girl who was a little bit more like smaller than everybody else. Like she was getting picked on because of her size and, well, you can't do this and you can't do that because you're so short and whatever on the playground. And so I would stand up for her. Like, why don't you pick on me instead? Like, let's go. Leave her alone. And that turned into a elementary school friendship. Like the whole 5 years we were in elementary school together, we were inseparable. Turns out that her dad and my dad used to work together. So they knew each other pretty well. If I wasn't at her house, she was at my house. We went to the skating rink, we went to amusement parks, like we did everything. And then middle school happened. She was zoned for a different school than I was. And in the
Mm.
beginning, like we tried to keep, communication. We would talk on the phone. And then one day, all of a sudden, like in the middle of a conversation, like the call just dropped. Like, okay, that's weird. And I would call back. and she would yell her cat's name and say, "Don't," and it would hang up. I'd call back. "Oh, I'm so sorry the cat hung up on you," and she'd do it again. So after that, like, I was like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. Gave it a week.
Right.
Yeah, gave it a week or so. Same scenario. We didn't even have a conversation. She picked up the phone. I guess she heard it was me on the other line, yelled her cat's name again, and click. This was
Oh
back
my
before, I
God.
think this was back before smartphones. This was
Yeah.
the phones with the cord and you gotta like push the buttons and all that. But yeah, I thought it was weird and I was like, what in the world? And again, mutual friends. I went to school with just about everybody that we were mutually friends with. Um, and some of them said, yeah, she's been doing that to me too. Like,
Hmm.
okay, it's not me, it's her. And I had to let that go. But then we graduate high school and MySpace becomes a thing. And she found me on there, friended me on there, and apologized to me. I never got an explanation. She said, "I just always felt bad for treating you the way that I did. And I just wanted to say I'm sorry." I said, "Okay, thank,
Interesting.
thank you for the apology. I forgive you." And that was, that we met one time and had lunch and I met one of her kids. But after that, I mean, she's like dropped off the face of the earth again. So
Mm-hmm.
I have to wish her well. I know that she was involved in some things that I'm not. Um, and I didn't want my kids around that. So again,
Right.
I wish you well, just not at my table.
Exactly.
It's, I'm sorry.
Wow.
I hate to be that way, but it's probably, well, next year will be 10 years since I've heard from her.
Okay.
So it's been a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it
So
still hurt in the
sometimes
beginning, it really did hurt. And then, you know what, in high school, we actually ended up going to high school together.
how did that go?
I mean, we didn't have the same friend group. So, I mean, it's just, we had one class together and she sat on one side of the room and I sat on the other.
Wow.
I mean, I didn't
That's
wish her ill will or anything. We might say,
yeah.
hey, in the hall or something, but that, nothing more than that.
Mhm.
But see,
Well, I mean, look.
I actually, until just now, remembered that we went to high school together. So
I mean, looking at the situation though, like if her life took a completely different path, that
it did.
wouldn't have really been good for you to witness or be around
Yeah.
or whatever.
And I
I
don't
mean,
know
there's
when that started or what started that. It's not my business, you know.
mhm,
Um,
yeah,
but some people just make decisions what they think is right for them in the moment, So
mhm, yep. We
doesn't mean that
all
we should love them
struggle
any
with
less
things.
because they're they need our support too.
Mhm, yep. We all struggle with things. We all go through stuff, and we all cope in our own ways.
Yep.
So, who are we to judge anybody,
It's not our place to. We just
right?
hope that everybody can find their way out of whatever negative situation that they're in, whatever that looks like.
Mhm,
I've had people,
exactly.
like, since we've started the podcast, I've had people message me and just say, well, I've been included in XYZ, and kind of blew my mind at the moment. And I was like, dang, I can't imagine being caught up in like all this stuff. And I'm gonna be honest, I didn't know how to respond.
Yeah.
Like, somebody that you don't really talk to all of a sudden just kind of like pours their heart out. Like, okay, I'm here for you. give me a minute to process this because I don't, I've never really had anybody do that to me before. But
Right. Yeah, that would be a lot to process at once, especially out of the blue like that.
yeah, that was totally random. I mean, it's okay. Like that's what we're here for. They felt like they
Right.
could trust me to share that with me, and that's perfectly
Mhm.
fine. Yeah, it just really
Yeah,
caught me off guard.
right. Well, I'm glad that we've given them a safe space
Mm-hmm.
and an outlet. That's awesome. That is
Yeah.
what we're here for.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
I'm out of stories. That was all the personal stories that we had.
All right.
You have any other like last thoughts or comments or
Um, nope, that was pretty much it. Just, I mean, my advice to anybody that's going through a friendship breakup or maybe is still like being affected by it is just, know that you also have to protect yourself. You have to, take care of your nervous system and you have to
Mhm.
set up those boundaries in order, to have a healthier mindset. And it's, you're not necessarily doing anything wrong
Yeah.
by stepping away from, a toxic friendship or, like in the case that I was talking about, like being ghosted by a really close friend doesn't mean that you did anything wrong. Maybe they're just really struggling with something and, like in my person's case, they went through a whole personality change. I don't know what happened, but they just weren't the same person anymore. And,
Maybe they were
sometimes as
thinking
hard as it is, we have to let go of the things that we can't control and we can't control what other people do.
they could have been thinking about your well-being,
Mhm.
not wanting to pull you like through whatever it is that they were going through too, because they saw that
Mhm.
maybe it was toxic or was going to be toxic, and it was easier to be avoidant than it was to come clean or just simply say, "Hey, this is what's going down," and you know,
Right.
sometimes it is easier to just be the avoidant, unfortunately,
Mhm.
for those of us that want closure.
Yeah. Sometimes I wish I could find the happy medium
Yep,
between, the anxious attachment and the avoidant.
yep. And
But
two, something that just come to mind that I want to point out too, this isn't aimed like even towards just teenagers, but as far as like peer pressure is concerned and losing friends over peer pressure, if they're pressuring you into doing something, are they really your friend?
absolutely not.
So
The
think
real
about
friend
that.
would not
Like
pressure you to
that,
do something that
no.
you don't want to do.
If you're conscious of saying, "Oh man, maybe you shouldn't do that," then they're not your friend. They don't have your best interest in mind, whatever the scenario is. So think twice.
Mhm.
And it's okay to
Exactly.
say no. Keep your boundaries.
To whatever it is.
Yep.
Mhm. All right. Well, thank you so much to everyone who submitted their stories and their feedback and thoughts. We appreciate you guys.
So much.
Follow us on here, click that notification bell. Follow us on TikTok, the Ginger Snap Podcast. It's the same logo, same name. The links to our personal TikToks are also in the bio for that account, or you
Mhm.
can email us on here or DM us. There's a whole bunch of ways to get a hold of us. And yeah, we appreciate you guys. We will see you next time.
If you have ideas for a topic for a podcast, just send them our way too, because we're always looking for new ideas for content.
Hmm. You guys have 8 episodes to check out so far. A few of them have 2 parts.
The
And if
great
there's
so
a
far.
subject that we haven't touched upon yet that you would like us to discuss, or if you just want to be a guest and, share your testimony, share your thoughts, do, whatever it may be, let us know. We're open to anything really, as long as you're nice, as long as you're not mean.
No judgment.
No, this is a judgment-free zone, so everyone is welcome. All right. Well, we will see you guys next time. Thank you so much for being here.